Hi, this is Colin from Watch Off the Cuff, and today I've got sort of an interesting situation. A fellow named Eric from South Carolina sent me his watch. He was looking to get this particular repair done locally and couldn't find anyone, and we ended up connecting. I think probably maybe through YouTube, and then later he just sent me an email. And well, here we are. So the situation is this. He has a watch here that has sentimental value, this particular Timex. It was in pieces already. The movement was still in the case. You can see here the lug is broken off. And I removed it just quickly. Now this particular one is a front load, which is sort of unusual. Anyway, so there's a ring that goes on, kind of a chapter ring on the outside, and then the crystal itself comes down here. So we've kind of got this sort of situation where this goes in here, this ring goes next, and then of course the crystal goes on top. Most of this stuff was loose when I got it. The only thing I've done in disassembly is that I've removed the rotor in the back from here. And that just allowed me to just manually wind it and just take a look at what I thought the condition was. That rotor had to come off anyway for me to decase this because it was going to be in the way. That semicircular weight here ends up tracking in this outer portion of the case, so that has to come out anyway. Regardless, we're going to try to save this movement. And we're going to try to save the case back as being sort of the most important bits. Now, he was able to find a donor watch in really good condition. I think the only blemish here is we have a small scratch in the crystal there, which I'll probably just remove for him anyway. We'll be able to buff that out. And then the idea is, can we save absolutely as much as we can from the original as we can, or as much as we can from the original, meaning that we want to use the movement, dial, hands, case back. The crystals is too damaged to be reused, but everything else we're trying to put into this as a sentimental piece for him. I don't know what the sentimental value is exactly. I know it has to do something with 1968 because on the inside here it is inscribed 1968, and that's why we're going to try to fix this. Out of the whole thing, this case back for me is probably the biggest question mark. It's distorted. The snap portion of the ring has been dented, and the case back itself has been through some pretty tough times. So we're going to try to get that back into shape as well. So I think the other thing too is that people don't believe that these Timex movements are serviceable, and they are. They just aren't serviceable in a traditional way. What we'll end up doing is we will take as much as we can surface off both sides, including the calendar work under the dial. And then that movement in its entirety will go through the watch parts cleaning machine. And then when it comes out, again, the nice thing is, since it's single layer and isn't designed to come apart, it's literally riveted together with the entire gear train, balance, everything. But that allows us to have access to all the lubrication points. So we can fully clean it, lubricate it, because there's going to be nothing hidden to us, and then see what kind of performance we get out of it. As you can see, it's already a runner. I partially wound it. The amplitude isn't so great, but you know, some of these Timexes, it's amazing. They really do take a licking and keep on ticking. Anyway, I will try to record as much of this as I possibly can to show the process, and away we go. Anyway, now that we've got the hands off, I will gently remove the dial. There's a couple of feet here that hold it on. And what you can do is, this has got kind of a through plate on it with the calendar works. You can see we've got 4 points here, 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 and here. Just find that you have to be gentle and open them up just enough to get it off. If you slip and push too hard, then what happens is you snap off the foot. Let's see where we're at in terms of releasing this thing. So I think it might be, in this case, better to see if I can open up these a little more. Stay away from that balance. And then have the top pop out, and then just unhook it from the bottom. Probably thinking, as I look in the camera, can anything be seen on my hands in the way the whole time? Sorry about that. Okay, so we've got the hands off, the original dials there, and we'll try to clean that up as much as we can. The original date wheel, and now we have our decased Timex movement here. You see, I wound it up a little bit earlier. It is running just a little bit there. You can see the ghosting where it was stuck here. This is where this kind of long plate goes, where it slips into this portion here, and that's where the automatic winding mechanism interacts with this little gauge. It's got a little couple of feet that turn this wheel to wind it automatically. Anyway, so this is ready to go into the machine as is. There is this retaining ring on it, which I could possibly take off, but since there's no real moving parts associated with it, I'll probably just leave it as is, and then I have to worry about removing the cannon pinion. Anyway, we'll run it through the machine as it is and see what kind of result we get. Let's get this thing in here. Let's place it in the bottom there. Now what I'll do also is I will grab, I'm not sure I'm going to reuse this crown, but we'll throw the crown in there anyway. In one of the compartments, since we're used to having a whole bunch of components in here for this process. In this case, we've got just the movement sitting in below, but what we'll do is we're going to grab the rotor there, and I will put two of the screws in one of the smaller compartments here. Holds the rotor on. And we'll put those in there. And this can go to the cleaning machine. Cleaning machine here. And we'll pop this in there. Testing the speed, we're going to put that down. And we'll let that go for 10 minutes. Okay, while the cleaning machine is running in the back, I got myself some fresh Rotor here, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to start to try to remove any of the visible dirt from this dial as carefully as I possibly can to get any other little bits and pieces off. It's important to dab, not swipe, so it doesn't score the dial in any way. Anyway, I'll work out like this, or sort of work away at this while I clean while the movement's being cleaned. All right, now that I've got that out of the way, I'm going to take a quick look and inspect these hands. We'll do the same thing. So I just like to have the staking block where I can just put the portion of the bottom of that hand there can sit flush, and then I've got a flat surface to work from. And then what I'll do is I will take a little bit of pegwood here that I've got, and I can hold it down. And then first of all, I'm going to try to clean off what I've got for contamination. And it's got a black inlay, so I'm just going to be really careful not to touch that too much. I'll just hold a piece of it, and then we'll see if we can get rid of some of that thing. So I can see quite a bit of like just patina just kind of come right off that hand. It's gonna look quite good. Actually, I was kind of nervous about the state of these hands, but they look pretty good. As you can see here on the staking block, it's also quite flat, so that's also a good sign. So put that one back for now. Again, I'm just giving these a precursory look. I'll probably it looks like this hand here, our hand's sitting up a little bit here, so we'll try to straighten that out a little bit. Put it over there. I'll take a look at the minute hand. Place one of these smaller holes, flush. Sure, somebody's going, oh, I can't believe he's using Rotor to pick something up with. It's like, well, it works. well, so it looks very sort of greasy almost, but it looks like it's cleaning up really nice. I'm super happy with that. Now, this hand actually turns down at the end. It's got a curved kind of pan dial, so the hand comes out and then the minute hand sweeps down a little bit. In general, like the hour hand, it seems to be slightly bowed up. So the hand's like this, and then it comes down and follows a curve. So I think that, again, the crystal wasn't there. It looks like this has been manipulated a little bit. So what I need to do before I lose it is I'll also straighten that out. So get rid of that blow, bring it down, and then it's still going to tip down towards the end of the dial. But again, this is just kind of like a quick initial clean and look and inspection. So the second hand will do the same thing. It should tip down. It looks like a couple of things on this one. Number one, there's a little bit of the finish has been rubbed off at the very end, and again, it also looks a little bit bowed, which I knew before we opened it. So I'm just going to take a quick look. So what we'll do the same thing. We'll kind of keep the end bow on it a little bit, and we'll try to get it flattened out. So from that center point, it doesn't bow up. We're going to bring it down just a little bit. So anyway, just a quick look, a quick clean, and at least we know what we're looking at. All right, this is done. What we need to do though is we need to pull this out. So it's out of the solution, and we'll turn this off, give it a little more time, and we'll just we'll just spin off some of the excess cleaning solution. Step back the other way. Yes, I wish I had one of those automatic Alma machines that goes through all these cycles on its own. All right, so that was the clean. This is going to be the first rinse. I mean, sometimes they say you can get away with 5 minutes. I just feel like once you're going to do it, you might as well give it a good go. All right, slightly guilty. This is at the end of its cycle, the final one, and I've got the chamber preheating right here for the final portion. So we're going to get rid of the excess on this one. And then this chamber is going to heat up, and then we'll put it in the chamber for a good 5-6 minutes, maybe 10. Anyway, that's starting to warm up, and we're close to the final phase. And I've just set it up. And put it in there for the final phase. It's going to heat in there and slowly rotate and burn off all of the solvent. All right, so we're going to start doing some lubrication here, and I'm going to start by just lubricating a couple of gears here on the mainspring winding mechanism. This is some HP 1300. Now, it's generally bad practice to use Rotor to get rid of extra. We need the surface tension to hold the oil in there. We're just going to use a little bit here. I don't have a prescribed lubrication table for this, so we're gonna wing it a little bit here. We're just going to make sure that we've got a little bit of grease here in the keyless works. And it just gets pulled in with capillary action, just a very small amount. Just pulling from the edge. If I pull that a little bit closer, you can see my tray there. I'm just pulling from the edge, never the middle, because any debris that might get in the pots is going to sink to the bottom. So I'm just going to get a little bit in there. Okay, even completely dry, this movement is already still running. after it's clean. And these end up not being fully taken apart. Because they're just two plates stick together, which it means that I'm going to have access to all the key pivot points. So that's just a little bit of the keyless works. Again, it's not really critical before everybody starts freaking out. It's not like we're working on a precision Swiss piece. It really is a Timex, just going to take a licking and keep on ticking. But what we're going to do is we've got the pieces of the gear train here, so we're going to kind of move down on this side where we've got access. The first thing here is going to be this this second wheel right here. I'm just going to look at my chart and take a look at what great wheels, and they're going to suggest on my generic chart that we use 90-20 for that. So we're going to get a bit closer, and there's my 90-20. Here. And the next great wheel. Here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do this portion. I'm going to tip it up like this, and I'm going to go in through the side to get a little bit of lubrication on the pivot on this. And for something like an escape wheel or balance staff, we're going to do 90-10. Again, before everybody freaks out, it's riveted together. This is not meant to come apart. And we're just going to, I'm just going to get in there. This has a large pivot. It's not like little tiny ones. So we've got that one there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put what they have of the calendar works on next to hold this. The hour wheel and minute wheel here are just on there, just floating. So we'll put that part on, which is right here, and then we will flip it over and we'll do the rest of the gear train on the other side. So let's take this out of here for now. Place this here. And we got that in the camera still, yep. So we will get this thing back the way it's supposed to go. So just a quick note here, while I was showing everybody the wavy washer came off the hour wheel, so we're going to get that back into place. Back you go. And then I believe the gap here is going to be where the hour wheel is, or sorry, where the escape wheel is. So we're going to place it there. And we're going to rotate this around. And gently press that. Check for clearance. There we go. So that wheel right there, that pusher is going to be what indexes the date wheel. That. Into there, that's better. And it's going to make sure that's sitting down the way I want it to. And this has a single screw holding this plate together right here. fit here. Just want to make sure it's seated properly on the guide pins. If you heard it there, I heard a little tick with it. Just get it together properly. Great. So we're going to flip it over and take a look. Make sure we're looking good here. And I just want to check for clearance one more time on this wheel. This wheel does not look correct. Flip it over. Loosen it a little bit. I'm just going to remove that screw entirely. And back in the tray you go. And flip this over. You're going to check for clearance. It's a little unorthodox, so I'm going to hold it like this just for a moment. So now it's free once again, it's sitting properly, so we're going to bring that back. Just hold a little bit of tension there to make sure it's not going to move on us. And I'm going to bring that screw back. Just gently at first. I'm going to come back and check that again. Looks good. Pocket the holder just a little bit. And we're going to check that screw. There we are. All right, let's flip this over. Let's see how we're doing now. Let me check this. Yeah, there we go. It's freed up there. Looks good. Okay, so now let's flip it back over. And we can start looking at the rest of the train here. Okay, I always like to start at the main barrel, so we're going to end up using HP 1300. We've got some automatic mining works here, but let's start with the main arbor here. Which in this case, we're going to pull up here and we're going to go gently through the side. Again, it's a little unorthodox. We just don't have access to absolutely everything. And too much on there. Better to do it twice with too little. I'm just going to go in the center arbor here. And then I always put just a little bit on the teeth on the side here. Because what's going to happen with the automatic winding works is it's going to be slightly offset. And this is going to go back and forth. See, that winds the unit there. A little bit there. I think the spring. There we go, it's better. I think we'll be better off once that goes in there. We'll have to check that once we get the winder on there to make sure it's not slipping, because it looks like it's slipping just a little. No, it's only going one way. There we go. Looks good. All right, so what we're going to do also is I'm just going to put just a little bit inside this connection here. And I think otherwise we'll be all right. Maybe a little bit. Just right here, this connection. Great. Okay, so let's take a look at the great wheels here. So we're going to go from there. I'm going to have to move this out of the way. Let's see what we've got access to here. just hidden just out of wings, and we're gonna do on the great wheel, we're gonna do 90-20, and it is hidden right through here, pivot. So you can see it, it's right under this arm right here. So I mean, potentially as we could take that completely off, but I don't think it's necessary. All right, and we've got the escape wheel, which we are going to do 90-10. There's just a little pin right here, very small. And I can see the pallet fork from here. I'm going to do that as well. There. And we are going to do the escape wheel in 90-10 as well from the other side. So we're going to tip it up. And it's going to go right in there. I can see there's a small gap right above the, I'd say roller jewel, but there's no jewel on it. Looking good. And then we will do, traditionally 941 gets used for the pallet stones. What we'll do is we'll face a couple of the wheels on the escape wheel, which is right here. Run a little bit. One, we'll just do one more. And that'll go on the pins and then get distributed. Okay, I just inserted the crown real quick. I just want to give it a good wind, give it a couple of good spot checks there, just to make everything was looking good. And I'm going to want to put that on, or have the crown inserted anyway. I'm going to flip it over now, and then we're going to reinstall the date wheel and the dial, and then we can start looking at the hands. Okay, there we are. We got it flipped around now, and we're ready to put the dial on. We're just gonna grab that over here, get that on there. So we're just gonna position that. There is a spring for it, which is right here. Now it just floats here until the dial goes on. The dial's going to hold it into place. Make sure that it's in the best position possible for us to gently put the dial in. There we go. And then we can put this dial back on. Slots here and above here, with our crown to my right hand side there. So I'm going to do the bottom first because I'm going to be able to nudge that date wheel up towards the top of the dial just a little bit. And let's push that up. I'm going to flip it around. And it's not going to work exactly right. Put that back into place. Again, it's just all about patience. When I got this dial off, it ended up that I've got one of them, I'm not going to use that. One of them is slightly curved, so I just want to make sure. Look at this here. I'm going to do it from the top. I just want to see if I can get it seated really nicely. And we can drop the dial on. It's in the groove that way, so we're going to pull it in this way first. And hold it. There we go. I'm much happier with that position there. All right, let's get this on. Just going to hook, again, one of the dial feet, or the dial hooks there, just a bit hooked there. And let's bring it towards me a little bit. There we go. Okay. So before I flip it around and push the tabs down, I'm going to pull this out. Flip it around. I think I've got the screw too tight on the crown. Oh yeah, it's very tight. Let's pull it out. Okay, so I've just got the crown pulled out. It needs a little adjustment, and I'm just gonna index this time forward. I'm just gonna make sure before I secure the dial back down. The date is rolling over correctly. There it goes. Okay, so we rolled over the date. So once we've done that, we're gonna flip this around as unawkwardly as we possibly can. And I'll probably press it down like this. I'm going to very gently put it down into the gel here, like that. And then I'm going to gently move these feet over. There we go. There we are. We'll flow it back over. Took the pressure off that center wheel, so we've got movement again. Looking good. Okay, so I'm going to just put a little bit of lubrication on the, which I didn't do before, on the lever here. It's not riding through this position very well, so if I push it in, it's very difficult to pull out. So we'll just pop a little bit there. That's a little much. Just a tad. Right on that lever there, in that groove. Open up and grab. There we go. Tighten it up just to see. I mean, I can always adjust this after, even with the movement cased. But it's just nice to. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Didn't want to actuate at all before. Now it's working perfect. Okay. So let's take a look at hands next. Now, I did previously here straighten and clean the first two. I hope that's in focus. Can I go here? Just touching the camera to see if I can get it to do it. I may just maybe bring it down here to see it. Anyway, so I've got the hour hand and second hand things. I do need to do a little work on the second hand. So maybe I'm going to straighten the second hand first, and then we'll assemble all the hands at once. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a flat piece of pegwood. There's our thing there, and it's bent over a little bit here. So I'm going to come in. Please, my face out of the way. I'm like there so everybody can see. Here we go. Maybe this way. Nah, maybe not. So anyway, so what I want to do, it's maybe the wrong angle. I'm going to hold it down this way. So I'm going to hold it down here, and hopefully you can see it. Yeah. And then I'm going to come in with the pegwood this way, and I'm going to gently press it over, get it straightened out the way I want. I'm just going to go slow. A little bit again, slow but steady. When I got the watch, didn't have the crystal intact, and the hands were bound up and twisted a bit. So yeah, it's looking a lot better. A little bit of a curve out this way here. middle, back. Three straight there. Now the end. I'm gonna straighten that a little bit this way. A little more. Just the very tip, it looks like. And again, a little bit more. That's looking pretty good. And what we'll do is we'll hold the end because it needs to swoop down over the other hands. So I'll just bring this straight out here a little bit. Put that curve back in there. So great. Now, unfortunately, that's got little specks of pegwood on it. So what we'll do is we're going to get some Rotor and see if I just can't use this polyamide, and we'll just hold it gently and remove the bits that are on it, both sides. So there's a little chip in the finish where it got caught up, but I think that the idea here is for the owners that they want to keep as many of these original parts as possible. So it looks like we've done that. So should be ready now to put the hands back on this thing. What we're going to do is we're going to manually advance the time until we get a rollover on the date. So we know that it's at 12. To look at that. Let's see if it's making good contact or not. Let's take this off and I'll just show what happened. Okay, so I started to try to advance this hour. All of a sudden it started to slip. And what it was this screw right here, which creates tension down from this gear that puts it into the mechanism that allows it to wind. So I made an adjustment there. It's tight. The mistake I made is I checked it, and when I was originally having problems with the keyless works, I thought maybe I'd over tighten that and it was creating too much pressure for that to move and pivot when you pulled in and out before I lubricated that thing. So it was snug, but I didn't crank it down. So I've snugged it up quite nicely now, and then we're going to put this back together. We're going to put the dial back on. We're going to put it all together. We're going to do it all over again. So why don't I'm just going to stop, and I'm going to put it all back together where we were before, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we've got it all back together. We're now going to advance the day until we start rolling over the next day. We don't have that grinding anymore. We've readjusted the keyless works so that it is engaging properly. And we get to start to roll over. There we go. So we will now apply the hour hand. And the idea being that I've got a plunger so that, or a pusher here, so that it is going to clear the hour hand, or sorry, the minute hand, but be too narrow to go too far around the diameter of the hour hand. So I can only push the hour hand down so much. So I'm going to try to keep it things. So what I typically do is I'm bringing my face down to the level of the watch, but way down. I can see, maybe I'll move the camera. I have to be in edit. So there's the edge of the bench. I'm going to bring it right out, and I'm going to come and I'm going to look at it level with it, so that I can see exactly what it's doing. Make sure that I get it put on there correctly, and usually give it a once around to make sure I've got the clearance that I like. It allows me to make adjustment to make sure that hand looks parallel. That's pretty good. So I'm gonna bring it around the dial and make sure that it looks good as I'm doing it. So I'm literally looking at it like this, and then through the loop, and I'm making sure I like the clearance. I don't see it like moving up and down. It's perpendicular all the way around the dial. So I'll bring it to 12, and I've got my Bergeron, what are they, 6574 BUR3. Is that gonna come into focus? I always I can't put my hand in front of the camera. Does that show there? Anyway, these are like these boxwood style tweezers that won't mar the hands at all. Bring the next one there, and I'm going to place that. Now this one I only need to, I don't want to go past the minute hand. So all I need to do is clear the pin for the second hand. So I've got another pusher here that just has a hole in it. And this one here just has a hole in the end of a couple of different sizes. The only thing to be careful of here is, I'm just going to grab what I think is the right one, is that you have to be careful that you do not mistakenly crush the pin. So I'm just making an adjustment to the hand a little bit there. Just want to make sure it's in the right spot. Again, I'm going to bring it out, so it might not be very clear what I've done there. I apologize for that if it gets difficult to see. I'm going to come back down. I'm going to look. I'm pretty happy with how parallel that looks. And I'm just going to test fit this. I'm just going to take a look at what the hour, or the second hand looks like on there. I did reshape the hands, but I'm finding that they're sitting up a little bit, like up away from the dial. So if I hold it like this, I guess I'm finding that they're tipping up and away just a little bit. It's not great to have to fit and refit them a bunch of times, but if it's not going to look good, and I'm not going to get the clearance I want with all of the hands, then I might have to, I'm going to bring it back out because I'm looking really close at the edge of the bench here. If I don't like the way it looks, then we might have to do something and rework the hands another time. This is part of the, you know, painstaking work that comes along with doing these things. You get these little things that need to be adjusted and readjusted multiple times. So when that second hand goes on there, I'm not going to like the way that looks. So we are going to pull off these hands. Okay, here we go. We're going to pull these things off. And I'm just going to get this right size of levers for that. And we will do it again. All right, let's try to get these hands a little straighter here. Big thing is that this portion here is the hands themselves are bowed up. So I'm going to adjust this portion first. Hold it on the edge there. I like that a lot better. Let's take a look at the minute hand. Excuse me. All right, let's take a look here. I'm gonna maybe bring it right up to the edge again. So this way I can lean right in and see where it's off base here. Still don't like it. I think that's much better. Well, proof is in the pudding. We'll have to give it a go and see how it turns out. Just for reference here, you can see it's 195 amplitude, some beat error, and we're wavering around a little bit there. You know, I would probably keep this under a day of test. I made a minor adjustment to the hairspring lever there to adjust the effective length of the hairspring. And we'll just see how it does. I think this is very good. Again, like the purists are going to be like, oh, it's going to be amazing. I think this is a very good result for the age and condition of the movement and what it was originally designed to do. I think people forget that even a popular Seiko 7S26 is like plus or minus, like I think it's minus 25 plus 35 seconds a day. So this is a fairly good result here. And, you know, I think we let it run and let that lubrication settle in. Hopefully, too, we see a slightly better result. Anyway, let's go back with getting the hands on this thing. Okay, let's do this do-over. Let's make sure we're set back. It's been running, so let's get it back to the rollover for the hour. Is that in focus? The problem is at this point I can't see well enough with my glasses depending on what optics I'm using. It's very frustrating. Here I was looking at the camera and then missed the rollover. That's nice and smooth now that I made that adjustment to the setting works there. All right, let's get that hour hand on there. Oh yeah, much better result. Much better. I'm just testing all the way around to make sure we've got it around there. It looks really good. Big difference. I just see a really small speck. I'm going to handle it with wood tweezers. I just want to give it a quick go. There we go. All right. Game on for the minute hand. Hour hand a little bit. Huge improvement, huge improvement, great. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing. I wanna run it around. Make sure that we've got clearance nice and even all the way around. I can see everything's running a lot more parallel, so. So we are looking good, great. All right, just gonna bring it around so they're parallel there, and we'll get this second hand in the works here. Now I do not position it over the circle here. I get it positioned so I can see there's a small something. And then we'll position it over at the last minute. Just get it just where we want it. And then we'll have to check for clearance as well. See what happens when it comes around to the minute hand here. And as we run it around there. Great. And then I typically run it around a few times here as well. Then run the minute hand by it. And it is too close. So, we've got a couple of options here. We'll see if we can't tip it back. There's a fair amount of play. I don't want to push it down anymore. Let's see how we're doing now. I'm just going to speed up the process by rotating the minute hand into the path. Oh, touching it. So we will carefully move just the second hand. And we will make an adjustment to that. Okay, we've just got the staking blocks. It's a flat surface to work on. And we will just move this over here. And I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to use the end of this pegwood here just to hold it down. And then I'm going to come in. Am I still in the... Can you still see it? There we go. I think you can. I'm going to make some adjustments here. That's going to improve things. So let's do a test fit on that. Let's see where we get. And so I'm looking for my silver pusher, which is right here. Alrighty. Now that's quite a bit up. See how we're doing now. Yeah, we're looking good now. Great. Just got a little bit of, well, if I can see it's here. And we are looking good. Okay. Whew. So there we are. Got that figured out. Okay, so here's the donor watch, and we are going to remove this strap. can't catch a lucky break. There we are. It's not double shoulder, it's a single thing, so it's not set up very well for removal. We will conquer this, however. There we are. So let's see if we'll get this case back open. Not shear. You can see there's already somebody scratched the back of it a little bit. It is a push, not a pry. Straight in. There we go. All right. Now this caliber does look slightly different than the one that we're going to put in here. So we should just do a quick check to make sure that the one that came from our donor case is going to fit in there. It does look the same, so it looks like we're in pretty good shape. That is good news. So for this to come out the front, we're going to have to do a couple of things. Number one, we're going to get that crown out. I'm going to start a new parts tray for the donor stuff. So our crown releases right here. There it comes. I'm just going to put that back into position and screw it down to make sure we don't lose it. There we go. That's going on the tray. Next, we are going to flip this around so it covers up the balance. And then there's two screws here. We're going to go to a 2 mil screwdriver. And there is one screw. And there is 2 screws. This then will slide forward, I believe. No, it's going to slide back. Back and out. And there's my tray. And now, once we remove the crystal, we will be able to take the movement directly out of it, and we should be able to put a new movement in. So let us do that. Okay, here we are. So we've got a Bergeon crystal lift. We're going to open this thing up. And I'm just going to do a quick check here. I'm wondering, it feels there's a ring in there as well that goes between the dial. And I'm wondering when it goes in, I'm going to put the movement in. Before I put the crystal in, I'm going to put the crown in, because once that crystal goes in there, that movement isn't going to be able to shift around anymore. So I guess more than anything, I'm just talking to myself. There is that ring that came out of the original. Now it isn't really visible, so depending on what shape that one is compared to the one from the original one, then we'll see what we're going to do. So this gets sat down to the edge of the case. And I'm just going to quickly check clearance all the way around and make sure it's gripping in exactly the correct location. Open up just a little. Just going to push it down nice. Make sure it's making nice contact all the way around. There we go. And then we'll give this a squeeze. And we'll start to compress the crystal. Starting to move. It's getting looser, you can see. Start to move in the Go slow. Almost out. There we go. So the crystal is now out. We're just going to set that aside there for a moment. And we should be able to simply take this out. I'm going to be gentle with it. And there is that ring. So, put that over there in the tray. We are going to take our new movement, or old movement. I should come up with a way of saying that properly. Is it the new one? Is it the old one? Anyway, so let's get this crown out. Be interested to see whether we can use the old crown or not, simply because the other one is a bit nicer. So we'll do a check. Again, this might be a personal preference. I might have to ask the customer, but it is the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the new one because it matches the case. We're just going to get that lined up. Just hold it up here just gently. Trying to be as careful as possible here. Just want to tighten it a little bit more. Just watching the position of the second hand as I touch it. There we go. That's seated down nicely. So I can see that this one is nice and smooth, and I can see this one is damaged. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the one that came with the donor watch here to make sure that we get a great seal all the way around. We've got our crown in there. Just want to make sure it's seated nicely. And then we're going to put this back into the watch. And I'm going to, before I maybe do anything, I just want to make, I wonder if I can see through the tines. I want to make sure before I crank this thing open and close too many times. I mean, the crystal will take it, but I just rather do it one time. I'm just taking a look for clearance, and I can see that everything looks clear there. So I think we're probably in the clear. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and put it right on the bench, and I'm just going to give it a little wiggle. I'm just going to make sure it's seated the way I want it to. I'm going to, oh, it's on there good. You're going to slowly make sure it's compressed all the way up. Off it comes, and the new crystal is on there. I kind of felt like I was holding my breath a little bit. You know, you want this to turn out really great for the customer. And I've got one donor watch to make it all work. So anyway, oh, it looks really good in there. I hope they're thrilled with how that's going to look. It looks really great. So now we're going to put the rotor. I'm going to put the original rotor back on, which is over here. I just want to make sure it's going to get, we're going to have clearance. Now these parts should be interchangeable. So I guess the question is, do we use this one, which it is bent? I could see about straightening it, which I think maybe that's the way to do it. I think it's going to be functional regardless. The question I have is I did put this in the cleaning machine, the other one, but it's very corroded. I just wonder whether I want to add that kind of contamination to it. There's some green gunk on it as well. I mean, it's not undoable in terms of... Nah, there's still some gunk on it. I think I'm going to try to fit the, because they've asked to do the original, so I'm going to try to keep it from the original one to this donor newer movement that we're trying to keep as much from the original. So I'm going to refit the old original here, yeah, I think that's it. I've decided that's what we're going to do. Okay, so let's get this together then. It comes in on the side where the balance is. We'll see about getting this lined up. There's two ways this thing can go. I think with my luck, it is the wrong way. Push it in there. Yep, I think it is. We're going to gently bring it out. What we're going to do is we're going to reorient this the other way. Like that. And we're going to do it again. And there are the two holes. Now that still doesn't look right to me. I think I had it right the first time. So we're going to flip it around again. And back in the section here. Bingo. All right, let's find the original screws. Two-mil screwdriver. Get that one started but not snug. There we go. Now, how is it going to move? The question is it not moving because we don't have clearance? Because it is slightly distorted. It might be because slightly, so I'm just going to check to see. It could just be that it's not moving very well, just because it's old. But let's see if we can put a little lubrication on the rotating portion and see whether we can't get that to free things up a little bit. So I'm just going to use some of that HP. $1,300. And what do I do with my little oiler? There we go. Get rid of that. And let's see about moving this thing around. I have had some of these where this rotor is this is so loose, and I have been able to tighten it up. Actually, I've unsuccessfully done it. I've successfully done it more times than not, but there was a few failed attempts in the beginning. that seems better. It's not what I kind of would have hoped. Now, it may be insufficient lubrication on the automatic winding works. So I guess I would have the, I guess the chance would be, do we fit the old one or the one from the donor movement to see whether that is the issue? Because there's no clearance issue. It's nice to see it just hum along there. That's really great. It is winding. It's just slow. So let's keep it all original. So our final piece of this puzzle, now that we've got that all set up, is there is a slight mark on this crystal. I was going to buff that out a little bit with some poly watch, so we can do that. Here's the case back. I think the question is, they would like to use this original case back from the original broken case, because there's an important engraving for the customer in it, but I don't know whether I'm going to be able to push that back into shape enough. It's been flattened and banged, and the other thing is that it is not round, and it is very, very distorted. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I've already played around with it a little bit, and I used the old damaged case to see whether I could, you know, get it mostly round, play around with it, and then see whether I could get it to press back into that case again, and I could not. So I'm not sure. I think right now I'm going to use the case back that I know is going to work with the case. I know this is such an important piece for this customer. Oh, anyway, it's going to kill me. I'm going to try to maybe give it one more go to see what I can do to try to get this evened out. I mean, it's just so bad. The edge is so, the lip is just killed on it all the way around. It's not round. It's bent out of shape. I'll have to think about what I can do about that. But you know what? Sometimes it's one of these things where you've got to take a step away from the bench for a day or a few hours. It's the end of my day now, so maybe I'll leave it at this. What I'm going to do is I am going to close up the case. I've worked so hard to get it clean in there. I would like to keep it that way, and we can close that. The other thing is a chance for us to make sure that we've got clearance on the back of that as well. So we'll get that lined up. I don't know whether we're going to need the case press for this or not. We'll see whether we get away with a press of our fingers. Oh, yeah, we're good. And I'm just doing a quick check against my ear. Yeah, it's whining and it's free. So anyway, so again, it's got my couple of fingerprints on it, a little bit grubbed up, but there is the old movement cleaned, old dial, old hands put into this newer donor watch that the customer was able to find. And I hope that they're super pleased. Anyway, and I hope you enjoyed watching it as well. So that may be it. I'm going to go and see what I can do with that case back. I think it's a lost cause, but I'm going to think about it. If I don't come up with some kind of epiphany, I think what I'll do is have a quick follow-up, film a little bit more tomorrow. We'll clean it up. We'll take out the little scratch in the crystal with some poly watch, put the strap back on, and then let the customer know that that it is ready to be returned to them. Anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers. Okay, final step on this repair. We're just going to use a little bit of poly watch on this crystal just to buff it out. There was a little mark, but now I can't even find it. I wonder if it was just a little speck or whatever on it. So I'm just going to give it a quick go. Now, normally I would completely mask off this watch and the bezel, but since I'm just going to do a touch up in the center on these high points, and that paste isn't going to get anywhere near the case, then I'm not going to be worried. I'm just going to give it a quick go, and I'm just going to take out any little micro scratches that are there. And then we are all done. Looks really good. All right, so what we'll do now is I'm going to grab, let's give this a quick wipe, get my fingerprints off it, and we will get the strap back on. We are all set. I'm going to turn the camera around so I can check it, and we'll do a final pass by. Eric, there is the final result of your watch. It looks nice enough that I don't want you to think I'm tricking you. You can see some of the original hazing that was on the dial right in here. But there is the movement that came out of it with the rotor. I'll attach that rotor back on there and package it up and put the original crown back into the movement. And there is the case parts that you provided. I'm so sorry I was not able to get that case back into shape anywhere near what would make it possible to go back into that case. Thanks for watching this video on this vintage Timex restoration. It was a pleasure to work on it. I hope you liked this long form video. If you want to see more, please let me know in comments and feedback. I plan on adding more content to the members only section in the future as well. So if you'd like to support the channel and see other maybe more in-depth content, please consider joining. Thank you very much.